Today we're going to talk a little bit about the brief history of exercise physiology. I tend to think that exercise physiology means that I'm a coach or all I do is talk about exercise, but that's really not the case. Exercise physiology is the study of how the human body responds to exercise. It also focuses on the mechanisms that improve the health and performance. So it's not just about improving muscles, it's about how the muscles work. It's about how new cells are developed, how cells are maintained, how we're improving the entire body. Exercise physiology is not just, oh, you need to run more. It's an entire field that spans neurology, oncology. In 1920, August Crowe won the Nobel Prize for muscle capillary blood flow during exercise. This was looking at how the body uses oxygen, how blood flow is regulated, and this really laid the groundwork for what we now know as the field of exercise physiology. For assessing muscle metabolism and the O2 debt. In 1922, A.B. Hill won the Nobel Prize for assessing muscle metabolism and the O2 debt. So in 1927, the Harbard fatigue lab was developed. This was the first really big official laboratory setting to really dive into the nuances of exercise physiology. And we're looking at cardiovascular workload, muscle response, oxygen dynamics. It laid the groundwork for how we develop the different research avenues and the different institutions that are involved within our field. Moving forward to 1954, the American College of Sports Medicine was first developed. This is currently the leading organization for exercise recommendations and prescriptions, provides the background for the American Heart Association, the AHA, the American Diabetic Association, the ADA, and numerous other organizations that are focused on using lifestyle modification and sharing education with patients so that they can overcome those different conditions. Around the 60s, Dr. Brian McCardle was doing a lot of work with patients that had a deficiency in the enzyme that breaks down glucose. So they can't produce lactic acid if they can't break down glucose, okay? And this led to Dr. George Brooks in the 80s doing some further studies that found lactic acid. So moving forward from the 80s and Dr. Brooks' findings, there was a lot of controversy in our field because it's a paradigm shift. Those are never easy. It requires a lot of data. You have competing hypotheses, and we have to figure out how everything fits within what we know. Science isn't perfect. It's constantly trying to prove itself wrong, and it succeeds in proving itself wrong a lot. So that's where we come in, and we have to find out why. Why was this wrong this time? Why was it this way last time? And just like any other scientist, exercise physiologists have to figure this stuff out. We have to figure out what the gaps are and where we can address certain genes, proteins, different cell types, how exercise impacts all these, what it does to different biomarkers. It's pretty crazy sometimes. Okay, so moving forward to the past 20 years, where we're at now. I educate on exercise counseling, exercise physiology in the community, but it goes far beyond that. Exercise physiologists with a master's degree, they're typically going to teach. They can be seen in athletic settings as a lead strength and conditioning coach. You'll find them in rehabilitation settings that's where I got my start. With a doctorate in exercise physiology, you can teach at universities, you can perform research. I took a different route, went into the pharmaceutical world, but the knowledge base that you have from that training transfers over very well. So we know how the body responds to stress. If you add any disease state to that, it's just a matter of figuring out how the pathways change. Once you have that, you have the entire story, and then it's just a matter of figuring out why there's a sentence missing in the middle. Okay, so we're starting to see exercise physiology integrated more with medicine. So we see cardiac rehabs, we see intensive cardiac rehabs, which I'm slightly biased towards. We have technological advances. You've probably seen people with heart rate monitors on their wrists and on their chest. These are really good because they provide a trackability, so you can monitor how you're responding over time. We also have molecular exercise physiology. My lab work at the A&M was, can you be born a couch potato? Turns out you can. So we're looking at how various proteins might signal for more or less voluntary physical activity. Also did some work with the genetic foundation of exercise. Do genetics impact how you respond to exercise? You can look at the heritage studies and the famous FAMUSS if you want to get a short primer on what we knew about it 10 years ago. We're also finding a lot more about exercise and aging. Exercise helps to retain a lot of your testosterone function, your hypothalamic pituitary axis. What that does is serve to keep your cells healthier. It helps to replace cells when they're damaged, helps to promote normal cell functioning, and the exercise components also help to maintain your joint health, your muscle health, your bone health, especially in women where osteoporosis is much higher rates than men. We know that resistance training actually has a robust effect on helping to prevent osteoporosis and mitigate the symptoms. So the reason exercise physiology is needed is because it works. Exercise keeps you young, keeps you healthy, helps improve cognition, and we got to get that in there. All right, so this has been a brief history of exercise physiology. We've got about 100 years of data showing more and more that exercise not only helps to prevent diseases and help stave off aging, keep you healthy, it can also be used to treat various diseases. It can be used to heal bones, to heal joints. There's all sorts of things. So get out and exercise. Skål.